So we're gonna move on to town hall number 4. So this is gonna be coming from Chris Como on Crime Time.
Mhm.
He is going to share the two lawyers that are speaking on behalf of one is speaking on behalf of Bart, and the other one is the one we've seen already that's speaking on the behalf of the three boys, Warren, Jackson, and I forgot the other boy name already that was up there. Um,
Morgan,
Morgan, okay, so
maybe.
we're gonna play. What is it?
I
You
said
said it.
maybe.
Okay.
Maybe it might be Morgan, I think.
Yeah, not really important. Um, so let's see here. Chris Como here. So I think I got it.
With respect to what I've been reporting. So here are co-counsel for.
Let me start it back. So.
But that's not enough for a lot of people. That sweetened audio, other suggestions, just animus has put these three boys and a few others in a bad situation. So why isn't it fair to talk about their bad situation? Because they are put in competition with what happened to Nolan Wells and his family that way. That's what I don't want to be a part of right now, because I don't think that's fair to them to say, hey, this has been really hard on them. There are too many people who I would want to move the needle with who will just say, oh, poor them. Nolan Wells is dead. His parents lost their son, and this was a good kid. Everybody says this was a good kid. He had potential, and he's gone. And oh, they have to listen to bad things online. Oh, poor them. I don't want to add to that. So even though there's opportunity in that, right? They're going to get clicks. You're going to hear new details of how they're living and what's going on with them. But I'm taking a pass on that because I don't think it helps fairness in this situation. Not yet. And look, I've seen where this story is heading and how it's being handled. And after you hear the interview with these two gentlemen, you're going to hear new information on this and new understandings of why they believe what they believe about their clients. And then afterwards, I want to tell you something about some speculation that's going on about this case with respect to what I've been reporting. So here are co-counsel for the three boys I mentioned. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. First, I already introduced the audience to who you're representing and why, and there are a lot of ugly allegations flying around in this case. Some of that is because of the overlays of race and intrigue in Mississippi. Some of it is because of the vacuum of the unknown, frankly, in the true crime space. But I want to hear from both of you before I get your latest accounting of where things stand, why you believe representation is necessary. Mr. Cox, I'll start with you.
Well, representation is necessary for these boys simply because they've been lied to, or they've been lied upon. And these lies are a little bit more than just your average everyday white lies. These lies are horrible, and they've hurt these boys who have nothing to do with the death of Nolan Wells. That's the issue. Plain and simple.
When you say they've been hurt, they've been injured, Counsel Palcic, what does that mean to you, and what are the intentions of the boys at this point?
Well, number one, I can say our intention is to file defamation suits. We've already identified multiple individuals who defamed these fine young men, Warren, Morgan, and Jax. Obviously, I cannot disclose their names at the moment, but I can tell you this: we've identified multiple individuals. We've already put it out there. If you have defamed them, if you've lied about them, if you've hurt them, we've already said you should apologize and retract now, or else you're going to be hauled into court. There's a lot of stuff out there. There are a lot of folks who have accused these fine young men, these good Ocean Springs people, of committing crimes. Being associated with a murder, covering up a murder, destroying evidence, you name it, they've done it.
So one step down the road, or pick a metaphor, into the weeds for the non-legal people. You have two different categories of defamation. You have per se and per quad. Per se is there's certain categories where if we can prove you said it, the damage is assumed. One of those is the moral compunction of having been involved in a violent crime. Now, an exception to that, which doesn't make it okay to defame, but it changes the standard, is if someone is assumed to be a public figure for the purpose of this, that this is now an open and notorious case, and therefore they are public people, and therefore the standard would have to be higher, known as reckless disregard, which means you knew what you were saying wasn't true. It's not just an opinion. It just could be true. You know it's not true, and you said it anyway. Yes. Counsel Cox, which standard do you think applies and why?
Well, here in Mississippi, the slander per se, would apply. These boys have been accused of infamous crimes, and you know what more infamous and how much more infamous can you get than murder? I can't think of a more infamous crime, to be quite frank with you. And I think slander per se is the one that applies here. These three women are not public figures. They never claim to be public figures. They were thrust into this simply because, and only because, a group of, I would say, ill-intentioned people on the internet have decided and labeled them as murderers, as killers. The worst thing that you can be labeled or called. And so that's the way I look at this. It's plain and simple. It's cut and dry. These boys are not public figures, have never claimed to be. And they're only in this now because people are calling them horrible names, horrible things. They're getting death threats online. They're being confronted in public. Their lives are upended. And the only thing they've ever done was try to help. These boys are innocent, Chris.
Now, when you're talking about people who may have defamed your clients, Counsel Paltzig, you are not talking about the Wells family. Am I correct?
Correct. Correct. We are not planning any legal action against the Wells family, obviously.
There is intrigue. Speaking to other counsel who is representing someone else who was involved and absolutely has been dragged into it, and there have been all kinds of suggestions. And there's this alleged audio tape that's been sweetened that has an account that is not backed up by any witnesses, to my understanding. The question is, what do you understand at this time to be the best reckoning of the investigators of what happened?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because I can't answer it, but I can answer it this way. We've been very consistent all along. We do not know how Nolan Wells died. And our side, we have refrained very carefully from speculating, guessing. We're not going to do that. But what we do know is this. We know that Warren, Morgan, and Jax had nothing whatsoever to do with Nolan's tragic death. And that's what we want to emphasize. And if I may just add just one thing on the previous point, and you nailed it. Your recitation of defamation law was largely correct, which is that, look, our three fine young men here, they were private, anonymous individuals minding their own business, living their lives, great people. And then this happened. They did not thrust themselves into this controversy. They are defending themselves, and they were forced to defend themselves. And only after the fact, only after they were accused of committing infamous crimes, did they then take the steps to defend themselves. So they are, by any measure, by any reckoning, they are private individuals, or in a lawsuit, they would be private plaintiffs. And that would be a negligence standard, not actual malice.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Summer's here. If you want to actually feel colostrum, rich within the law, there's obviously an issue for concern. There's a lot of wild stuff out there. Look, I have people accusing me of having some kind of information because I have sources close to the investigation who are doing what sources do, which is yap and saying what they've heard about the autopsy. If they're wrong, then I correct it.
I'm going to skip over because they're going to actually start speaking about the phone portion. So let me get there real quick.
You said a couple of times, we don't want to speculate. Counsel Cox had said, I don't want to speculate. Well, I do want to speculate a little bit on two different fronts. The first one is, well, what is the line? I heard the sweetened audio, and I think it could be real, and that means that the boys were involved. Am I defaming them? No, I'm stating an opinion. What do you believe the line is that has been crossed in your opinion?
Well, I could give you a very clear, bright line. When you
may have. They look guilty. I don't
defamation.
believe them. You can't just sue them.
May I just say one thing? Look,
Yes.
This part is not the law. This is just my personal view for what it's worth, which is very little. But I am an ardent opponent of censorship. So I just don't believe in.
So it's an interesting situation, and it'll be interesting to see if you litigate what courts say, because this doesn't happen that often. So this is like a new phase of these types of trial by public.
And I'll say one other thing. Look, things are so different now, last 20 years or less, right? You have a story, and basically reputational arsonists can pour accelerant on the situation, and it's just like a dry forest. It's like the tinder just going up in flames. And it's just so different than in the 1970s or 1980s, where you had, the nightly news and you had newspapers. It's so different. I really do believe everybody should have an absolute right to freedom of expression. They should also understand, though, that we do have defamation law.
Understood. And sometimes you learn that the hard way, and I look forward to seeing how that plays out. The other point is that not all speculation is the same. My understanding is that people reached out to the families wanting to help and saying, look, I saw him. I know the boys left. I know when they left. I saw Nolan. Nolan was drinking. Nolan wasn't drinking. Nolan was with this girl. Nolan was with this other girl. Counsel Cox, has anything come to the family's attention that is helpful in understanding what may have happened here?
Well, sure. I mean, but again, once we talk about that again comes speculation. We've had people come and tell us verifiable, good, and just the way that local counsel here, Chuck Bordeaux, says at Good Ocean Springs people, we have Good Ocean Springs people come to us and say, look, we saw Nolan at the time after the boys left, and they're good people. They're verifiable. They're good members of our community here. And so we've had those people reach out to us. We've pointed those people to authorities, and the authorities have that information. And we've been doing that for weeks.
Has there been any suggestion to the boys that they're people of interest, that they shouldn't leave, that they want them to report in with their movements?
Not that I know of, Chris. No.
Would you know?
I think I would. If that has been relayed to the board, I certainly would know. But they have not told me that, and I don't believe that happened. They would have told me.
Well, they know the authorities know that you're counsel, right? So they would have reached out to you if they wanted them to come in or wanted further questioning. Or have they been asked to go before the grand jury?
Not yet.
Would they be interested in doing that?
Well, Chris, we've done everything else. We're going to do and continue to do as much as we can do. Whatever our Jackson County Sheriff's Office asks us to do, we're going to do it, just like we have since July 5th.
Now, question that's a little uncomfortable, but
Go ahead, Ray. You muted.
Did you see the other lawyers' eyes move when they asked about the grand jury?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, he really shouldn't have said that type deal.
Yeah. Chris Cuomo, even though he on their side, he does ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, he does.
He said,
yeah.
I'm an older man. I don't know how to make it happen.
Oh,
That sucks. Do you have an email? If you have an email, we can send it to your email. That sucks. Okay.
oh man.
I think important. We all here as officers of the court respect the grand jury process. Of course, as a journalist, if I can get information, I'm going to take it. It's one of the weird things about being a lawyer and a journalist, right? But I'm also not a party to the proceeding. They have the initial reports from the autopsy. I understand why it's under seal and they want to keep it quiet because of the grand jury. But do you think there is a balance of equities here that isn't being well served by the secrecy? If the authorities can come out, which they can, and say, look, here's what's in the initial findings of the autopsy, that could go a long way to changing the rate of speculation on this story. Do you think that that is something that should have been considered here?
I don't think that our local DA's office is really worried about online speculation. I think they're worried about doing their job and doing it right. And look, again, I go up against them all the time in my criminal practice. They're good at what they do. Our community is safe because of them. Do we fight like tooth and nail every day? Absolutely. But I can trust them to know that they're going to do what is right. I don't believe that they are worried about online speculation. They're worried about doing a good job. And that's what they've done. I know because we've given them all the evidence that we could ever give them. Every bit of phone logs, Life 360. We've given them location data. We've done phone dumps. We've given them every single thing that we.
So I wanted to stop there first because we talked about this on the first two segments tonight. That they're saying that like the phones and stuff that they had has already been given. So I want to say he's going to pose the question about the Nolan Wells family phone with Nolan's phone, because they're going to talk more about what happens to that and probably why it's not being actually handed over. But again, we don't know if this is true either, right? Because we haven't seen anything, but we also seen this happen in the Carmelo Anthony case where they took everybody's phone, but we didn't hear anything.
Right.
So
could possibly do. I don't think Angel Myers and her team are worried about online speculation. Could it calm some people's speculation? Sure. But again, they're worried about doing their jobs. Me and Ed are worried about doing ours.
I got you.
And also, well,
Go ahead,
I have a few things I wanted to add. I could hold them until the end, but there's just a few things that are really important to remember, if I may.
Go ahead.
So number one, look, this situation reminds me a lot of the Duke lacrosse situation.
I covered it very extensively there and remotely.
And I want y'all to also see this play, right? Because I know a lot of times people get upset when we try to compare cases that some people might not feel have relevancy, but that's what they do. Like they're about to compare the Duke lacrosse case. I don't know if y'all remember this from 2006, where the white Duke lacrosse players were accused of raping the black young lady, and she turned them in. And they're comparing these things because there's something called a valid comparison. Some people probably think it's a false equivalent, but it's not a false equivalent. Valid comparison says you can pick one thing out of that story that compares with the next one, and you can use it as proof or a way to articulate things. And I think a lot of times we think people are using false narratives or false equivalents, but they're not. They're using valid comparisons. And that's something that I learned a lot about, did a lot of studies about. A lot of people are using valid comparisons because all you have to do is take one piece of information that is similar to another thing, and now you can build a credible case around that. So just something to think about.
So I and Dan Abrams were fundamental. He was at NBC, I was at ABC. We changed the timeline involving Seligman, which was one of the first big cracks in Naifang's narrative. And it was a very rare occasion where a prosecutor was making up a story.
Yes. And look, we're both a little older. I'm 45 now, so I remember it. A lot of folks are maybe a little young to remember it, but that was the classic rush to judgment. One of the first things I thought of when I became involved in the situation was Duke lacrosse. That's point one. Point two, I just want to say this. When I went to the island, when I was fortunate enough to go to Horn Island, I got to observe the washing machine. All right. I was told, this area, it's right off the beach. Tyler told me it's called the washing machine. Very
off
dangerous.
The beach of Horn Island, which is about 10 miles south of the south coast of Mississippi. They call it the washing machine because it's a lot of water going through a channel between Horn Island and an adjacent island, and it's very turbulent.
Yes. And you're dead on. And I just want to say, as someone who is not from the area, I was literally standing on the beach and just feet away from me, just mere feet away. You see it and you realize those rip currents are going to overpower just about anybody. You see the green water, then you see the blue water where there's a drop off.
And you see what they're doing. They're not just being attorneys and lawyers. They're trying to create a whole new narrative for their people. You mutilate. You see what I mean? Like they're creating a whole, they went away from everything else. He's now telling you how the currents were going. You know what I mean? Like they're again, that unity, that sticking together, we're going to have to start doing it, good or bad or indifferent. So
now listen, as I said, we don't speculate. We don't know if that's what happened to Nolan, but I'm only offering that as an example of something that you can only see when you go out there. That's number two. Number three, I want to emphasize that Warren called the Coast Guard that night on July 4th. That does not sound to me like the activity, the action, the behavior of a guilty man. Calling a federal law enforcement agency to go search the island. That's number three. Number four cannot be emphasized enough. Morgan, Warren, Jax, these were Nolan's best friends. Enough said on that. What else can you say? They are crushed to the cores of their souls. And then lastly, we might as well address this. I just have to say, all this stuff about racism, making it about race, that is all coming from the outside because that is not the reality on the ground in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. I am here to tell you that is not what this town is about. Ocean Springs, Mississippi is the furthest thing from a racist town. It is the most non-racist town you could imagine. It is a place where all folks, black and white, they live in harmony. They love their neighbors and their friends. So I think it's just horrible how opportunists have come in and tried to divide a town. And Tyler's in a better position to talk about than I am, but that's what I saw.
Well, Counsel Cox, you can't blame the Wells family for that, can you?
Oh, just like Ed said, it's the outsiders coming in who have no idea what Ocean Springs is like. We're not blaming the Wells family, absolutely not. But what Ed is saying is correct. There's people that just assume that Ocean Springs is a certain way based on Mississippi's history. Come to Ocean Springs, see it, live it. People here, our neighbors, our friends, our communities, we are not what people think we are. We don't believe in that. We don't subscribe to anything like that. You know, that stuff may have started a long time ago, got heated in Mississippi a long time ago, but Ocean Springs is where it stops.
Here's something we can disagree on. I blame the sheriff's office for a little bit of what motivated this skepticism, because the first word that came out was, even if it was worded the best way they thought they could, which was right now we don't have any evidence of foul play. I still think it was too soon. And I still think that it was triggering for people who are sympathetic to the idea that something else could be at play here. And I think that was something that worked on the Wells family. And I understand why it did. In fact, even if it were my kid and I was suspicious of what had happened, now the race part doesn't apply, right? Although I'll tell you what, if it was one white kid and 5 black kids who went to like a mostly black party and the white kid didn't come home, there'd be a lot of interest in that story also, by the way. But I don't blame the Wells family for wanting answers and not liking what initially came out of the sheriff's office. Do you see it differently?
Well, again, I'll tell you, I can't speak for any other part of the country. All I can say is my experiences here in Ocean Springs, my experience here in Jackson County. Look, the sheriff's department is handling this the way they're supposed to. Okay. Again, I fight with them all the time in court. I can tell you times when they've been wrong about the evidence. I can tell you when they've done things wrong. I can tell you when they've done things I don't like, because I point that out in court all the time. Here, and in a lot of other cases, they're doing things the right way. I'm not going to criticize our sheriff, John Ledbetter. I'm going to criticize our DA, Angel Myers, how they're handling this, because I think they're handling it appropriately. Look, would it have been great if they would have come out and said early on that our boys, or at least in some sort of statement, either way, sure. In an ideal world, that'd be great. But in an ideal world, Nolan life right now. We don't live there. We don't live in that world. So sure, could we criticize Monday morning quarterback it? Sure. But again, they're working with all the evidence. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're working the case appropriately. And that's what's important.
I understand. I'm just saying from your client's perspective, one of the reasons that I'm hinting at this, Counsel Palcic, is if they said, look, we're going to keep investigating. We got other people we have to interview, other things we have to track down, but we got the initial results of the autopsy, and there is water or there isn't water, and there are signs or there aren't signs, and this is the initial finding. It would dampen a lot of the speculation that, of all this craziness that is out there. And I get that there are competing interests, but there are competing interests. The court of public opinion is a real thing.
Very real thing. And I just want to say this. First of all, we have nothing but sympathy for the Wells family, right? So I want to be crystal clear about that. We have nothing but sympathy and condolences for the Wells family, and our heart breaks for them. As far as the investigation goes, look, again, just my personal opinion, I tend to be more comfortable with law enforcement and with investigations when they are doing it quietly and methodically, and when they wait until the end and provide a comprehensive ruling or a comprehensive finding.
So I'm going to stop it there. It's a few more minutes left, but I do want to get to y'all comments because we appreciate you guys keeping the chat going. So myself and Rain will get to these comments. Let's see here. That was all to D Ryder. And we apologize, D Ryder. We got to get StreamYard to find a better way for the older viewers so that it make it a little bit easier for y'all to be able to come up.
Yeah.
So we'll put in a complaint. Don't worry. We got you. So here go a little Penny right here.
Penny said they public figures if you're dragging them on Officer Brandon's show. I'm just saying.
And I can't wait to get to Bradford Collective. Please stay in the chat because I don't know if you're a male or female, but they said some very interesting stuff, and I would definitely want to discuss it.
Penny said, if you're protecting privacy, why are you doing the Michael Jackson World Tour?
Facts.
Mm-hmm. Penny said, I'm sorry, but they admit it's their identity in public to a random Joe citizen.
That's true.
Bradford Collective. If the internet keep the pressure up, one of them is going to turn rat. Illuminator. We all know.
Oh, we already put them out there.
Oh yeah. Bradford said, kids today can't handle pressure. That rat can just taste that cheese right now.
I agree with you, Bradford. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. B. Raider said, I'm old now. I've been trying to find you.
Yeah, he said you
can inbox us on Instagram.
Yeah, he said he tried to DM us too. Or can we DM? I know she tried to DM you. It wouldn't let her send it on YouTube.
Yeah. Bradford said, for them to be innocent, their camp can't stop talking, laughing my butt off. Like 50 said, you making it look like we don't do police work. Chill. Purple Groovy said, did he say that they are going to do what the sheriff department tells them?
Yep.
That's what he said. Lee Raider said, I tried subscribing, couldn't do it. I'm trying to figure out how not to give my email to everyone. We understand. If you can get us on Instagram, get us your Instagram. Get on Instagram and DM us through Instagram. If you have Instagram, then I can send it to you there as well.
Man, Penny said, Instagram, Rain.
Oh, he don't.
I'll mess with you.
Oh, okay. Penny said, or Carmelo's sentence compared to the white model who got 6 years for stabbing her boyfriend.
Yeah, he was speaking about that's why he was trying to compare the cases.
Mm-hmm. Tristan said they working overtime.
Yes, sir. Buzzer beaters and all, Tristan.
Penny said these boys are William Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
Honey with the T, please. Yeah, right. Haha. This is Mississippi. We're speaking of WTF. Tristan said there are no trees and you can see everything. Isn't it safe to say that someone would have seen something? I've been asked that question.
Yeah. And Tristan, what I keep speaking to Rain about is even if someone's seen something, people are I think the person just so terrified. They're waiting for the grand jury because the grand jury could give you so much wiggle room. You know, they can give you all these plea bargains. There's a lot of incentives once the grand jury starts. And I think once the grand jury starts, you'll see more people names come up that they never even talked about. I think you will see all these guys that we're seeing on all these interviews. They're going to already be good to go. And you're going to start hearing about names that no one brought up. And it's going to be because I discussed it on our first town hall. The grand jury protects a lot of stuff. A lot of things become very secretive. People can ask for plea bargains. The grand jury is not a good look.
Honey with the C, please, said Emmett Till. Bradford said, honestly, I do believe if Nolan was white, they still would have tried to pull the same move. Rich people will always try to clean up their mess to avoid penalty for their efforts.
And I thought that was a very unique take, and it's pretty interesting to hear that take from you. I appreciate that take because I haven't heard that from anybody. So I could tell you're someone who kind of thinks outside the box. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Honey said, boycott that itty Mississippi.
Tristan said, just because the town isn't racist doesn't mean that the racial component is off the table.
That's true.
Gail Brown said, yes, you do. Welcome in, Miss Gail. Penny said, bruh, this is not a Sandals Resort commercial. Bradford said, what a lot of people miss is that tow company is a cleaner service. That's why he said we have a membership. That was the wink, wink code. That's a different perspective.
Yeah. Appreciate you being here, bruh.
Penny said, glad someone with fair sense said that if it was reversed, a busload of black kids would be under the jail by now.
Yeah.
Honey with the T, please, said Mississippi is definitely disgusting and racist. This dude is smoking crack. Mel, you've been in here before.
Yeah. She
she
came initially, I want to say, from the Facebook side, I think.
Yeah, society has become a meme. Now thing. Yep, it's never fast enough. The wheels of justice turn slow. I can agree. Bradford Collective said, well, y'all see how they handle Carmelo. I never said Carmelo was guilty or innocent. But what I do know is they didn't have enough evidence to prosecute him.
Yeah. And we try to, that's what Penny was speaking about, Bradford. We try to compare those two. I know some people didn't see the valid comparison, but it's a lot of comparison in these things. I think if we start really looking at little small micro doses of different parts of trials and cases, you will see a lot of comparisons.
Yeah. Mel said Bradford, his own words convicted him.
Yeah, that's what we spoke about too. I know a lot of you guys are new to myself, Rain, Uncle Plug. Y'all see them in the chat. Like we are the Raw Society Network, and we talked a lot about that. Carmelo, it was a big game of just not being silent at the beginning. That's all. But he is starting back court on the 19th, so y'all look out for the Carmelo Anthony case on the 19th of August. They should be going back. He got a new attorney, a good attorney too, out of the DFW area. So I think you'll at least see a lesser charge, and I think you'll see a lighter sentence, in my opinion.
Tristan said they're playing in our face big time.
Plug laughing, yeah. So he probably laughed at me when I say he ain't got no Instagram. But we're going to finish off the last few minutes of this lawyer interview. And then again, if anybody who's in the chat would like to come up, we can drop the link again. I know it's probably far up in the chat now, so we can drop the link again. But we definitely want to hear from you guys. You don't have to just write in the chat. You can come on up. We'll give you a couple minutes to say what you would like to say. Again, myself or Rain, we don't push back. We want to hear everybody's opinion. We're not an echo chamber, so.
I feel like when they're dropping findings as breadcrumbs, I feel like that could actually endanger the investigation. And I also feel like it could potentially, there's a risk of misleading the public. That's just my personal philosophy about law enforcement.
Well, let's look at the elephant in the room. And I'll start with you as the defamation guy, and then I'll go to Mr. Cox with his more organic understanding of the community and then how that community will be received. Do you think, with all the speculation and the energy around this, that when the prosecutor comes out, if her conclusion is the grand jury found nothing to indict on, do you think it will be accepted?
I think that most reasonable people, or all reasonable people who are fair-minded, they will accept it. I always believe that there's going to be a percentage of the population. There are going to just be some people who will never accept it. And I think that the reason they will never accept it is because sometimes they need a Girardian scapegoat. And that's just human nature. Unfortunately, there's a darker side to human nature. And a lot of the things that I've seen in defamation law, a lot of the things that happen are unfortunately fueled by the darker side of human nature, by our worst impulses. And that's why you end up with Girardian scapegoats like Warren, Morgan, and Jax, completely innocent young men, categorically innocent young men who didn't do anything wrong, yet they find themselves on the receiving end of death threats and hatred. Some people will never accept it.
Mm.
And that's and by the way, that's a tragedy on top of an already existing tragedy.
Counsel is referring to a philosophical understanding that goes into psychology by a guy named Gerard, who said that sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Tristan, for sure. That's what I was saying, even during their first interview with Brandon Tatum. It's definitely the good old boy club.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, they're putting the people in front of us that they feel very confident about. That's all. But with that being said, also, I think the more we listen, the more you're actually learning. Because if you just listen to them, even all these big jargon they're trying to say in front of you and all that, it's really just how they're actually battling the case. So they're actually telling you their playbook. They're just acting like they're having a conversation though, but they're talking their playbook.
For different reasons. Sometimes it's jealousy, sometimes it's conscientiousness, sometimes it's collective will, where people will need someone to blame. And it's just in a situation like this, a situation like when a mother kills her children and says it's mental illness. It's too hard, it's too terrible. Someone has to be punished, and that's what he's referring to. Counsel Cox, what is your perspective on this? That they come out after, let's say, 2 months, just to use the figure that you threw out, and they say that we've presented everything, and there are all these big numbers, X hundred interviews, the thousands of pages, and this and that, grand jury, days and days and days. They've considered this. They did not hand up a true bill on anything. What is your concern that the amount of time and the process works against confidence in the finding? That all that time, all that stuff, and nothing, all that time. How could nobody have seen anything? How did it happen then? There's a good chance they can't answer that question.
Well, Chris, the same people who are going to be upset that this takes a long time are the same people who would be upset if the grand jury were to come out tomorrow. You're not going to change a subset of these people's minds. It's just not.
And I want y'all to understand, they're preparing everyone right in front of your face. This was still the same jargon that we heard with Carmelo Anthony. Like, they're preparing you. They're telling you, like, hey, it doesn't matter if the grand jury comes out tomorrow. People still they're literally putting out little warning signs to say, like, hey, we kind of know what's already going to be the plan. We already kind of know, because y'all can't tell me that these people ain't talking to each other. We all talk on a personal basis outside of just content creation. You can't tell me these lawyers and attorneys and DAs aren't sitting at a coffee shop somewhere or at each other's house in Mississippi or wherever they may live, not chopping it up about the case. Like, you can't tell me that. Like, I worked in a medical field where you're supposed to have HIPAA rules and law. Everybody talking about every patient when they go out to the smoke pit or do whatever they do. Like, they're having these conversations. I just think we need to, and I myself and Rain and Plug asked this question on Monday, is what do we want from this? What does justice look like? We did a show called Unfinished Business where we followed a couple cases that went through all of this, and parents are still seeking justice. We did the Tyree Nichols. We talked about him. We talked about Dante Wright. Tyree Nichols' mama said after all these years, it's been 6 years, she's still fighting for justice. And that's what I feel like we need to start speaking about now, is what does justice look like for Nolan Wells? Because I'm not confident with what I'm seeing in front of us that this is going to come out the way that people want it to come out. That's my opinion. Again, if I was a bed man, and it's just everything they're saying, I'm listening to them while they're speaking. And those little moments of, well, if the grand jury came out tomorrow, people wouldn't be happy anyway. Like, they're telling us something without telling us something.
Yeah.
So.
Going to happen. And so the best we can do, knowing that, is to trust the process. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office is doing their job. The DA is doing their job. And look, grand jury is secret. Defense attorneys don't get to go there. It's only the jurists and investigators, witnesses, in the DA's office. We're not going to know what happens inside the room of the grand jury. We're not going to know. We're not going to know what's in the minds of the jurors. But what I can tell you is that even after the no true deal comes out, you're going to have people not accept it. you're going to have people not accept it if it came out tomorrow. It's what it is. And there's not really much more to say about that. But what I can say is I believe that.
Did y'all just hear what he said? He didn't say that in like a posing question or like a let me roll it back a little.
Yeah, run it back, please.
Y'all listen to what he said. He didn't pose that like, just listen to him. He's saying this almost matter of factly.
The Jackson County Sheriff's Office is doing their job. The DA is doing their job. And look, grand jury is secret. Defense attorneys don't get to go there. It's only the jurists and investigators, witnesses, in the DA's office. We're not going to know what happens inside the room of the grand jury. We're not going to know. We're not going to know what's in the minds of the jurors. But what I can tell you is that even after the no true deal comes out, you're going to have people not accept it. You're going to have people not accept it if it came out tomorrow. It's what it is. And there's not really.
Did you hear that?
No true deal.
Much more to say about that. But what I can say, I believe that our community here in Ocean Springs, here in Jackson County, they know the work that's been done. They can see the efforts that law enforcement is putting in. They can see what our boys are going through when they had nothing to do with this. So, what are you going to?
Our boys. That's not your son or none of that. You speaking like they family now. Our boys. We don't even live in Mississippi. I'm telling y'all. We stronger together as a fist. Open hand won't hurt nobody.
Have some that are detractors, sure, but hopefully everybody will see what the truth is in time.
Counsel, help people understand who aren't as familiar with the process as you. What is going on in the grand jury right now, and how does it come to a conclusion?
Well, so because the grand jury is secret, I am not sure whether the grand jury has started convening or not. We're going to know. But evidence is going to be presented to them. They are going to hear from witnesses. If my client get an invitation to be a witness at grand jury, they're going to go and they're going to speak to the grand jury. If, whoever comes witness, whoever is a person that the DA's office wants to talk to the grand jury, they're going to go. But we're not going to know about that until right up before. We're not giving a lot of notice for that.
And then how does it end in your understanding? Like once the prosecutor has presented all the evidence that they have, now what happens?
Well, then the grand jury deliberates. And
what guidance are they given on? Are they given guidance in your jurisdiction? Is there a judge involved? Does the prosecutor, who offers up potential criminal indictments that they could reach?
Well, I'm not sure I understand your question, but the best explanation I can give is the fact that once the grand jury meets and they deliberate and they decide they do not want to go forward, they issue a no bill. That no bill will be put on a list of other crimes or other unnatural deaths that are put on a list called a no bill list, and that can be disseminated at I believe at the DA's will and pleasure. Now it can become public. A lot of times here in Mississippi, it's hard to get a no bill, but I would expect at least the DA to announce what the results were.
At this point, do you have any? Well, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. Will you be surprised if it's a no bill? Would you be surprised if they do hand up indictments?
See that pause? Y'all better pay attention. You don't got to go on YouTube and find that person that say they are expert at body language and your eyes see the same thing that experts say they see. That man just asked for every question Chris Cuomo said less than a second after he asked it. Y'all pay attention now. We're here. I'm just bringing you what I see. That's it. It's just my facts of what I see.
And that can be disseminated at I believe at the DA's will and pleasure. Now it can become public. A lot of times here in Mississippi, it's hard to get a no bill, but I would expect at least the DA to announce what the results were.
At this point, do you have any? Well, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. Will you be surprised if it's a no bill? Would you be surprised if they do hand up indictments?
These boys, this case, there is going to be a no bill.
Man, that boy had a cat caught his tongue like they be catching rain trying to say them words, man.
At least with respect to your clients.
100%.
With respect to your clients, you're saying.
Can you run it back a few seconds?
No bill will be put on a list of other crimes or other unnatural deaths that are put on a list called a no bill list. and that can be disseminated I believe at the DA's will and pleasure. Now it can become public a lot of times. Here in Mississippi, it's hard to get a no bill, but I would expect at least the DA to announce what the results were.
At this point, do you have any? Well, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. Will you be surprised if it's a no bill? Would you be surprised if they do hand up indictments?
These boys, this case, there is going to be a no bill.
At least with respect to your clients.
100%.
With respect to your clients, you're saying?
Absolutely. And I'm only talking about my clients. I have no information about anyone else except for my clients. But as it comes to Jax Battalion, more Hudson,
and
they're innocent.
And also,
and I believe there's going to be a no
Chris,
bill.
I just want to say,
I'm just gonna stop it there because after that they start fumbling over each other, and
Shout out to Chris Cuomo for doing his due diligence with bringing some of that out, because that's just, so you're automatically assuming that it's going to be a no bill.
They know they having these talks, and I respect everybody's opinion in the chat. Mr. Is it Miss Donna or whatever? I understand how y'all might feel about this, but they're telling you right now.
That's why I didn't see that part of the conversation.
I pay very close attention when I'm watching these videos. I'm like, okay, they're speaking too matter-of-factly now. Y'all were just on Officer Tatum's show speaking in hypotheticals, and then now you add the new person in there, and he's going deep. The dude at the top is kind of like, I don't know if we should be trying to talk about this, but I guess we're gonna go there, and I don't know if y'all watch Chris Cuomo's show, but when he starts off every show, the first thing he says is, I think you're going to change the way you think about this. You know why? Because it changed my mind. That's his quote that he goes into. And just so,
Ooh.
Telling you, man, we're going to get through some of these, we're going to get through these chats, man, tonight. We appreciate you guys. The biggest thing we can ask everybody who's new here is please hit the like button. Please subscribe so that you can get all the town halls and the other content that we bring on the Raw Society Network. We also are on the Facebook side of things, man, over there, doing a great job over there. Appreciate Soft Rain for all her behind the scenes work there. But if y'all can definitely hit that like button, it means a lot.